like this is something a lot of you can relate to. If you own a business, ever thought about owning a business, there is just absolutely nothing that ever goes right. It seems like every single day or every single week there's a hiccup, and as a business owner, you kind of have to make audible decisions all the time. And I know you guys can relate to that. It is especially true with set releases. Set releases, they are a ton of fun. Like, I'm not going to sit here and sugarcoat things. Like, it's a lot of fun watching all that product get delivered for a brand new set, something that you're really eager to crack into, and maybe there's chase cards in there. And even after opening Pokemon cards for as long as I've opened up Pokemon cards, it still doesn't get old. I still very much enjoy the thrill of opening up a new set, especially when it's like, 1,000 packs or 2,000 packs and I'm trying to master something, and that chase of trying to find that one last card, it's exhilarating. Like, it's a lot of fun. But unfortunately, a lot of times when it comes to a new set release, you have to do work prior to the fun, right? Like, you have to pack up all the pre-orders, get everything shipped out. You also have to inventory everything when it comes in, if it comes in, when it comes in. And this seems to be an ongoing issue with Pokemon really for the last several years. Obviously, during the pandemic, they had a lot more of these issues, but there always seems to be delays. There's just so many different channels and chains of custody, rather than just getting a product simply from Pokemon, having it go through distributors, having it go through different transit authorities, and pallet shipments or box shipments through UPS or FedEx or whatever the carrier may be, and then you're relying on all these other... Basically, what I'm trying to tell you is Shrouded Fable, I had planned on opening up some Shrouded Fable for you today. Actually, I had planned on opening up Shrouded Fable a couple of days ago. I still don't have it. I'm not getting it until tomorrow, which is going to be very inconvenient because we're supposed to have our members-only giveaway stream tomorrow. So I will, at some point in time, probably either have a delivery not too long prior to the stream starts or not too long after the stream starts. So we have to audible, figure out something else to give away. Also, all those pre-orders have to get packed up. The release date for Shrouded Fable is Friday. Like, we're only a couple days away from that. Not only that, but the Elite Trainer Box has been delayed. The Elite Trainer Box doesn't come out for a few weeks, so it almost seems like Shrouded Fable is just going to, like, sail in the sunset before it's even been released. It's going to be very interesting to watch what happens with singles. It's going to be very interesting to watch what happens with sealed product, because by the time the bread and butter product comes out, which is going to be that Shrouded Fable Elite Trainer Box, by the time that comes out, you're already almost at the point where you're looking at pre-releases for Stellar Crown, which is going to be the next main series set that comes out like September 14th, middle of September. So you have 1 week of a wait period time where Shrouded Fable is like the new set on the block, and then all of a sudden you start pre-releases for the next main series set. So I feel like everybody's just going to be like glossing over Shrouded Fable, which I think a lot of people are okay with, because I don't think a lot of people are super excited about Shrouded Fable. Me personally, I think Shrouded Fable looks okay. Like, I think there's some cool cards in it. Not a big set, not a massive set, so it should be fairly easy to master. That way we can give away our master set, because we give away a master set every single new release to one lucky subscriber. So if you're not subscribed, shameless plug, make sure you hit that subscribe button down below, so that way you can enter to win that Shrouded Fable master set if and when we ever get it. But Thursday we should start having some strong... We'll have a Shrouded Fable opening tomorrow, because Pokemon was nice enough to send us some product early to open up, and then Thursday we'll start having Shrouded Fable content, and then hopefully Friday, I don't know how I'm going to get it all done, but hopefully Friday we can figure out a way to get pull rates determined, so that way you can make the best decision when it comes to your collection dollars. Speaking of your collection dollars, this is a nice segue. I love it when a plan comes together. Speaking of your collection dollars, did you FOMO? Did you lose your mind when all these products, all these cards, all these alternate arts and special illustration rares lost their mind? I know there was a few that I kind of FOMO'd on, where I was like, I kind of want to get that one before it gets too expensive. And now, we talked a couple weeks ago, about a week and a half ago, actually, about 15 alternate arts that have just completely fallen apart. This is like part 2 of that, because there is, it's like every alternate art. It's not everyone, but it's like most of them. I'm going to flip you guys around so you can see exactly what it is that I am talking about. But we went through a period of time in May, beginning of May, late April, middle of May, where pretty much every single Pokemon card that was ever made, it seemed like, was exploding in price, blowing up in price. There was content all over the place. Buyouts were happening, not just on TCGPlayer, but on online stores, on eBay, on a lot of places all over. It was crazy. Like, nothing I have ever seen before. And it got to a point where people were like, well, what's going on? A lot of people were panic selling. A lot of people were panic buying. And now here we are. And things have fallen apart, and it's okay. Like, that just goes to show you, if you're somebody who pays attention to the values of your collection. So maybe you look in the collector app. I have talked to a lot of people before who are like, hey Fanny, I'm really upset right now, my collection has lost a ton of value. It's okay. It is okay. Everything's going to go through ebbs and flows. This is just a market correction. All you need to do right now is pretend May did not happen, because that was completely abnormal. Your collection was not worth that much it was not worth that much at that time. That was clearly manipulated. It was clearly incorrect information. So your collection, while it was cool to look at, it was more like a glitch or a blip in the system. Just pretend that never happened and ignore it. But if you look at this Beedrill V, we're going to go through these alternate arts fairly quickly. But here's Beedrill V. This is from Astro Radiance. Beautiful looking card. I love the artwork on this card. Is it worth $49.16? Well, obviously the community doesn't think so, because that's where it skyrocketed up to. It went up really high. But look at what it's done over the last 3 months. So the problem with TCGPlayer's graph is you can't really customize the percent drop. So the percent drop here that you see, this negative 29.71%, that's from May 3rd up until August, well, wherever this would be right here. So July 30th is when we're recording this video. So this entire graph, so like this is like $40-ish right here, maybe $41. So it's dropped 29.71% over the past 3 months, when in actuality, we're taking the drop from its high point, its height, which it reached in the middle of May, $49.16, and now has dropped down to $29.08, which is basically where it was prior to this increase. It's a little bit higher than where it was, not much though. So it has dropped 40.85%, almost 41% over the past 3 months, and continuing to trend downward. You don't see these a huge steep drop anymore, like in the middle of June. Things kind of slowed down a little bit. You can see it was already sub $35 at that point in time, but continuing to move downward, sitting at $29.08. Dialga V, also from Astro Radiance. This one is also taking a beating. I mean, we're looking at all these cards that have dropped over 20% in the last 3 months. That's a lot. 20% may not seem like a ton, but if you look at your bank account or look at your whatever, and you take 20% off of that, and it's 20%, it's a big amount. To happen this quickly, usually you don't see drops like this ever, to be this substantial after a set has already come out and been out for a long time. Like, you will see drops like this opening weekend or a week after release, but never this late after a set came out. Astro Radiance has been out for a couple of years, and you're looking at a Dialga V here, the alternate art, which was at one point in time $52.37. That was at the beginning of June. To lose 35.5%, it has now fallen almost $20 down to $33.75. Again, close to where it was prior to May, and continuing to just move down further and further. Here's the Galarian Moltres V, a beautiful looking card from Chilling Reign, another wonderful alternate art. This one had leveled out a little bit in the middle of May, and actually hit a new high point, like an all-time high at the beginning of June. It jumped up to 180, 170, but now over the last month and a half, it has lost over 20%. It's down to 144.39 and continuing to trend in the downward direction. So sitting 20.5% lower than where it was at the beginning of June, and continuing to trend downward. Beautiful looking card. Definitely cards that you want to pay attention to right now. That's why it's fun to look, because really what I recommend doing is making a list of cards that you want and a target price of what you're willing to pay for them, and then you use different cards in your collection, whether it be staples or things like that that might have a little value to help trade, offset that cost a little bit. Here's the alternate art Luminian V from Brilliant Stars. Beginning of June, this one had jumped up to $23.08. Again, not a huge drop as far as the actual dollar amount goes. It dropped down to $15.84. You might be like, well, Fanny, that's only about $7.50. That might not seem like a whole lot, but that's 31.37%. If you take 31.37% away from your collection, that's going to be a substantial number. So beginning of June, sitting at $23.08. It's dropped 31.33% over the past month and a half, sitting at $15.84 currently. It seems to have leveled off a little bit, but right back to where it was prior to. Same thing with the Inteleon VMAX, getting very close to where it was before the giant surge that we had. End of May, it was sitting at $28.14. That was its 3-month high. And then it hit a wall, started slowly going down a little bit. You can see in the middle of June, it kind of started to ease back up a little bit, but then just it ended up just being a blip in the road, and it just went down completely down to $22.33, another 20.5% drop for the Inteleon VMAX. The Unknown V has been absolutely destroyed. It's lower than it's ever been, and continuing to trend downward. downward. This is always an interesting one to me. Silver Tempest alternate arts are very interesting to me. Obviously, we have those god products that are out there, the sleeve boosters, the Pokeball tins, and then the chests, the treasure chests, whatever you want to call them, that we had where there was a guaranteed hit. And it seemed like a lot of hits were alternate arts. It seems like there were more out there, more available than what you would normally get. And because of that, I just feel like there's so many alternate arts from Silver Tempest out there. Middle of May, this was sitting at $31.12. It has lost over 50% of its value since May 18th. So in the last month and 2 weeks, month and a half, it has gone from $31.12 down to $15.54 and continuing to trend downward. It seems to level out a little bit now. I don't know if it's going to go much lower than this because this is lower than where it was pre-surge. So end of April, we are already lower than that and continuing to go downward. Here's the Leafeon V from Evolving Skies. That's right. It's happening to pretty much every alternate art from every set with the exception of a fair few. Middle of June or beginning of June, this was sitting at $96.33. It looked like we were going to get to a point where all alternate art evolutions were above $100. Bottom just fell out. Beginning of June, started going downward quite a bit. Now it is all the way down at $76.93. So it's lost about $20, about 20% of its value over the last month and a half, continuing to trend downward. Same thing with the Glaceon V. Seems like it's leveling out a little bit, but you can see it's right back to where it was pre-surge. Beginning of June, it was sitting at $102.24, so it did jump over $100. Now it's lost about $25 of its value, about 24.76% over the last month and a half, and also continuing to go down. The Zero Aura V from Chilling Reign. I love this card. It's absolutely gorgeous, very cool looking, but it has suffered big time. It's actually back to the point where it was before that giant increase happened. End of May, beginning of June, it was sitting at $61.88. The bottom fell out real quickly, almost as quick as it gained, right? Beginning of May, it was sitting right around $41, $42, jumped up to $61.88 at the beginning of June, and now over the last month and a half, it's dropped to almost 32%, sitting at $42.18 and continuing to trend downward. Same thing happening with the Tyranitar V from Battle Styles, probably the most popular of the alternate arts in Battle Styles. This one had almost crossed that $200 mark. It jumped up to $190.82 at the beginning of June. It has slowed down a little bit. It looks like it's a little bit more methodical as far as its decrease goes than what we've seen from some of these other ones, but it has dropped over 25% over the last month and a half, sitting at $142.30 and continuing to go downward. We might see it get back to that 120 point at some point in time. The SBN V got rocked really hard at the end of May. You can see trending upward, and then at the end of May, it hit that 1 year high of $114.76, and then it almost lost more. It lost more value than ever imaginable, really, over like a span of 2 weeks. It went from $114 down to about $90 over the span of 2 weeks. So it lost about $24, $25. It dropped over 20% over the past 3 months, with the majority of that happening. You can see it actually went up a little bit now over the last month, but it didn't take long at all. And that just goes to show you how manipulated and incorrect the market was, what these corrections are kind of doing to these alternate art cards. Middle of May for the Arceus V alternate art. This one was at $57.13. It's just been nothing but downhill ever since then. It's sitting at $27.12. Another card that's lost over half of its value, 52.53% of a drop over the past 3 months. This is very close again to where it was before the price increase happened. Here's the Mewtwo V. This one is from Pokemon Go. Even Pokemon Go got hit. Even Pokemon Go was increasing. So the Mewtwo V, very cool looking card. Probably the fan favorite for a lot of people in that Pokemon Go set. This one was also being bought up like crazy. It went up to $29.51. That was in the middle of May, right around May 18th. Leveled off a little bit, and then the middle of June happened, and the bottom fell out. It dropped almost 38%, sitting at $18.31 currently. It is up a little bit from where it was in the middle of July, but I think it's going to level out a little bit here because this is very close to where it was before the price increase started happening. We talked about these Evolution alternate arts from that, those premium collection boxes, those Evolution premium collection boxes, which feature a couple Evolving Skies packs, but also the alternate art Flareon, the alternate art Jolteon, and the alternate art Vaporeon. We're just going to look at a couple examples here, but all of them are going way down extremely fast. Here's the Flareon V. At one point in time, this was at $54.45. That was at the end of June, end of May, beginning of June. It had jumped up that high, and it's lost a ton of value over the last month and a half. Middle of July, it was sitting at $27.41. That's where it is right now. It's dropped almost 50%, 49.66% over the past month and a half. Same thing with the Jolteon VMAX. Not quite as big of a drop, but all 6 of these have been absolutely destroyed. You can see it trending upward quite a bit. Beginning of of May, it was sitting just above $20 at about 25, and then all the way up until middle of June, so almost for a month and a half, it saw this giant explosion in price, jumped up to almost $47 at $46.98, and then, like what we just saw from the Flareon V, it just fell apart. Now it's sitting at $31.95, continuing to trend downward. It's dropped almost 32% over the last month and a half. These are very, very large drops percentage-wise for a short period of time. You're looking at 4 to 6 weeks for the majority of these alternate arts, and that just goes to show you why it's very important to pay attention to this stuff, but not get lost in all the monetary side of things. Don't let it bog you down or get frustrated, because a lot of time the market will correct itself and explain what happened. So we can see that this was abnormal activity for a lot of these alternate arts. That's part of the ebbs and flows of collecting Pokemon cards. Not necessarily fun to look at, especially when you have to worry about maybe a card that you're looking at starting to get out of your price range, but things always balance out. Eventually people come and go. Prices on cards go up and down. It can get very frustrating, but at the same time, it's very interesting to look at. So I hope you enjoyed the data. If you did, please hit that subscribe button down below. Leave a like, leave a comment. We'll be back tomorrow with Shrouded Fable content, and then we will be able to do that for the next few days. So thank you so much for taking the time. I love you guys. I'll talk to you soon. Till next time, peace!